Dwedwch ychydig wrthym am y cynhyrchion trychfylod mae eich cwmni wedi datblygu.
Hello, my name is Geoffrey Knott. I'm director and co-founder of Hop, and what we've been doing with my business for the past 2.5 years is bringing edible insects to the UK. And the way we've been doing that is through sports products such as protein bars and protein powder.
Beth yw manteision iechyd bwyta cynhyrchion sy'n seiliedig ar drychfylod?
The really interesting thing about insects is that they have so many health benefits. And what we use at Hop at the moment are crickets. And we use crickets because they are really high in protein. This is really good for building muscle, really popular with athletes. And so crickets are actually 74% protein. And for some context, beef, chicken and pork, they're around 20 to 35%. So it's around 3 to 4 times higher protein content than what we commonly eat in the West. And in addition to that, crickets are also really high in calcium, which as we know is good for bone strength and good for strong teeth. And they're also really high in iron, which is good for blood cells and also fighting fatigue.
Beth yw manteision amgylcheddol cynhyrchion sy'n seiliedig ar drychfylod?
Now, if the health benefits weren't enough, the environmental benefits are just as exciting. So crickets, compared to traditional livestock, require a fraction of the water consumption, a fraction of the land, which is good for efficient food production, and they emit a tiny amount, about 1% the greenhouse gas emissions as cows and beef, and they grow a lot faster as well. So what we're doing on another project, because they're so efficient to farm, we are actually building our own insect farms in the middle of London in some spare warehouse space. And instead of a farm looking like an open field or a forest, it actually looks like a library. And instead of books on shelves, you've got growing containers full of thousands of crickets that have fed things like fruit peels, cabbage, lettuce, Weetabix if you wanted. So it's a really exciting opportunity on the sustainability side of things.
Pwy yw eich cynulleidfa darged?
When it comes to our target audience, one of the hardest questions we had at the start when we released our first products is who is going to care about this the most? Who should we focus all our efforts on? Because you've got people that care about nutrition and their health, people who go to the gym a lot, people who run, cycle, swim, who lead very active lives. But you also have people who care about the sustainability side of things, people who care about where their food comes from, who want to support local businesses and things like that. And what we decided to do around 2 years ago was focus on the first group of people, people who are very active and care about their protein intake and understand what a protein bar is and does. Because one of the things that we've found is that when you want to introduce something as crazy as a cricket, you need to introduce it through a familiar product, and a lot of people know what a protein bar is, how to use it, what to expect from one, what it tastes like, what it does for your body, and the protein is good for muscle repair and growth. So that's one way that we've managed to introduce crickets into the UK customer, is by targeting very adventurous types of athletes, and especially those ones that are open to new experiences, because you definitely need a personality willing to take a bit more risk or to try something new. So one of the groups that we've targeted are people like rock climbers and outdoor adventurers, because they are quite in touch with nature, so they kind of get the whole want to take care of the environment. They're climbing on rocks, so they have that whole link to nature. And at the same time, they care about their health and their diet as well, and they've got to keep very lean and powerful for such an extreme sport.
Pa fath o ymateb ydych chi'n ei gael pan fydd pobl yn rhoi cynnig ar eich cynnyrch am y tro cyntaf?
So we've had one of the most fun things about building this company is the reactions you get from customers, especially when it's their first time trying an insect ever. Sometimes you get some people who have ate crickets or locusts or scorpions when they went traveling in Asia, but for the most part, people actually are really positive, and we've had loads of great feedback ever since releasing our first protein bar around 18 months ago now. and that sold out 6 months ago, so we were struggling to meet demand actually. But yeah, there's kind of three main reactions. The first one that a lot of people do is, first they're very shocked. They think, whoa, I can buy and eat a cricket product in the UK. So there's that sudden switch. It's like, wait, this is a possibility now, which we really like that we're the first time they've experienced a cricket. And then the second on from that is, once they've finished the shock and they then want to try the product, they have so many more questions like, how do you grow them? Just talk to us, how do you turn a cricket into a protein bar? What does it taste like? And then the third group ask even more deeper questions, and we've been getting a lot more questions from vegetarians and vegans actually. And instead of them being opposed to it, we've actually found that some vegetarians and vegans would make an exception to eat crickets. So they would supplement their plant diet with crickets because of the health benefits, and actually because it ticks a lot of the sustainability boxes for them. We've learned that sort of vegetarianism and veganism is quite a spectrum, and we've never really focused on those groups because from our point of view, everything's on the menu as long as it's healthy, you have a balanced diet and it's sustainable and delicious. Then, I mean, you can eat beef, chicken, pork, fish, plants, crickets. From the hop point of view, crickets are just another option, and we think it's our job really to educate people on the benefits and to provide that option to them.
A oes unrhyw rwystrau i'r goresgyn cyn I fwyd sy'n seiliedig ar drychfylod ddod yn elfen allweddol o ddiet yr gorllewin?
The first main barrier to insect-based foods in the Western diet is the disgust factor. A lot of people have a lot of different images when it comes to edible insects. You probably think of something that's unhygienic, something that's dirty, something like a very poorly managed restaurant or a cockroach crawling around on the floor. And that is completely the opposite of how crickets are farmed. They're very clean, there's high food quality standards, and it's a very controlled environment, just like traditional food production, actually. So that's the main one, is disgust. And the way that we combat that is just through education like this. When we send our products out to customers, we usually send them in a box. And as I said, that we sell a product, but we also think that education is quite important. So we always try and address that by sharing the health benefits to them and the sustainability benefits. And we decided to do that because people always have loads of questions, so we started to try and address those actively. So when they get their products, they can also read and learn more about it. Another barrier to consumption is actually not on the consumer side, but on the supply side, and that is the supply chain. Because historically we haven't really consumed insects in the UK or Europe or America, a lot of the food production supply chain just isn't there that you would find for things like beef, chicken and pork. And so what we had to do for our first products is source crickets from Thailand and Vietnam. And we did that because they've got a long history of consuming insects, so they know exactly how to grow them in a good, make a good quality product. And actually there are a lot of cricket and insect farms starting in Europe. The issue is that they feed the crickets things like grains and cereals, which is what the European agricultural industry is kind of based on. Whereas in Asia, you have more rice and soya. And so the issue with that is that the final product, the crickets that you get in Europe, are not gluten-free. And this is something I haven't mentioned before, but we actually need our products to be gluten-free because of the growing intolerances to that. And the advantage with the Asian suppliers at the moment is that they are gluten-free. So that's one of the barriers that we found to try and develop our products, and it's one of the reasons that we are starting our own insect farms, is because we can control exactly what we feed the insects, and we can control that whole farming process and then develop a product from there, so we can control everything about it to get the best quality that we want. A final and third barrier is on the food science side. So in the West, we've got a lot of experience of how butter, cheese, milk, flour, sugar, how these types of ingredients all mix together at a food science and chemistry level. And we know what types of products we can get, and we know if I add 10% of this ingredient, how does it mix and react with these ingredients, and how does that affect the product at the end that the customer's going to have. Whereas when it comes to insects, there's still not much research done in this, and so we're actually running research projects with some universities on the food science side that says, look, here is my cricket powder. This is 100% crickets. These are just dried and ground up crickets, processed in a similar way as coffee. However, if I add a scoop of this to my porridge or a scoop of this to my bread, how does that react with all the other ingredients? Does it improve the flavour? Does it change the flavour profile? Do you get certain aromatic notes that could be a little distracting or quite good for the customer experience? And there's so many questions like this that just haven't been addressed yet, and that's another barrier to promoting insect products, is that we don't exactly know what happens when you add insects to something like a croissant, for example, or bread. We don't know exactly the experience at the end, and so that's something that we're trying to address as well.
Pa sgiliau wnaethoch chi eu trosglwyddo o'ch gradd ffiseg i'ch busnes?
I'm very proud to say that I studied astrophysics as an undergrad degree at Aberystwyth University, and I would say that having a STEM background, a STEM education background, is probably one of the best things you could ever do for anything that you want to do in life. Just because you study maths doesn't mean you need to be a mathematician. Just because you study biology doesn't mean you need to be a biologist. I studied astrophysics and I'm not an astrophysicist. There are so many transferable skills from my physics-based degree that have transferred to loads of projects that I'm working on that have nothing to do with astrophysics and astronomy now. And I made a note of two key things that come to mind at the moment that I gained from physics, which are maths, so numerical literacy, and understanding how to break down complex processes. So on the first one with maths, you just can't go wrong with being good with numbers. Whether it's running financial projections to try and figure out, do we have enough money 6 months from now? Do we have enough money coming in? Can we pay for things? And just being comfortable with working with loads of numbers and loads of different metrics that measure how well your business is doing. And then the second is complex processes. And this is something I think that physics taught me quite well, is how to break down very complicated things into very simple, bite-sized, easy to understand aspects. And that's something that's required for developing a product or researching something. You have a very complex, big subject, and you need to be able to identify how to break it down into all the different things that relate to other things.
Beth yw eich gobeithion am fwyd sy'n seiliedig ar drychfylod i'r dyfodol?
Got a lot of hopes for insect-based foods. Obviously, with the products that we're doing at the moment, they're targeted to a very specific type of consumer, but that's really just the first step. They are what we call the early adopters. The people most likely to go ahead and say, yeah, this looks like a good product. I love what it does. But eventually, what we want to do is bring insects into everything that we eat. So you could get insect-fortified cereal, insect-fortified bread, insect-fortified pasta. Any sort of food that could be boosted in some way. Let's say it's the protein in crickets. You could increase the protein in your pasta if you wanted to, and if that appealed to a certain consumer. We've just spoke about crickets, but there are actually over 2,000 species of edible insect, and each one has a different nutritional profile. So there's another insect called the mopane caterpillar, which has around 10 times the amount of magnesium in it than wild salmon or beef. And you might be thinking, okay, so what? Well, and a really interesting application would be women over 50 with low magnesium diets are actually at higher risk of developing osteoporosis, which is bone decay. And one way to address that is to increase their magnesium uptake in their diet. And what better way to do that, apart from having to take a magnesium pill every morning and a supplement? Imagine if you had increased magnesium in your diet. So the next time that lady walked into Starbucks or Costa, she could pick up the caterpillar fortified croissant and instantly enjoy a delicious croissant and get her extra magnesium. That is the vision that we have with HOP, is to improve everybody's diet depending on what they need individually, and to educate them on what insect can do what for you and your health. So that picture I painted was something that I could see happening over the next 5 years, 10 years, that insects become mainstream. And we've kind of seen this in food trends with things like vegetarianism and veganism. That's really exploded over the past 4 or 5 years especially. You could look at another food trend such as sushi. 15 years ago, sushi was seen as quite disgusting. In the West, we thought, why would you want to eat cold, raw fish? And now it's propelled up to kind of like a high quality type of food. And we think insects all follow that same trajectory. But something that I can't help but think about and plan for in the future is that bringing back my space background and my love for astronomy, I think in the future we would be able to help set up a colony on Mars using insects as a food source. And they work so well for the application in theory, because not only do you get really good high quality nutrition that you could produce locally instead of having to ship it all the way from Earth, but because of the sustainability benefits, because crickets are so efficient to farm, they don't need much space, they don't need much water, and they don't need much food. And these are three things that you're in very short supply of when you're building a Martian colony. I think that there's a huge potential to have insect food production really support a self-sustaining colony on Mars. And maybe that's 10 years from now at best. Maybe it's probably more like 20 or 30 years from now. But it's good to think about these long-term visions so you have something in mind of something you're aiming for.